If you live in a country where you pay the most for healthcare in the entire world, yeah, your children are dying far more often than in other developed nations, something is really wrong. A brand new study found that the rate at which kids are dying in the United States is far higher than it should be. They compared it with 16 other wealthy countries, and they found that the US surpassed every other nation. In the 20-year period between 1999 and 2019, there were 413,948 excess deaths. 414,000 kids that should not be dead. Almost 500,000 kids. Now, it's worth noting that this study didn't even look at the mortality rates after 2019. We know what happened in 2021. We know for a fact that after 2021, excess deaths in children skyrocketed and remains higher than it was prior to those years. Now, in adolescents, homicides, fatal drug overdoses, suicide rates even have been steadily increasing in recent years. But the disturbing thing is that half of those total deaths are infants. Infant mortality in the US is disproportionately higher than in any other Western nation. This is mostly because of the extremely high rate of sudden infant death syndrome in the US, which in the majority of cases has no known cause. Now, if you go back through history, infant mortality had been improving across practically every single country post-World War II. However, beginning around the 1980s, you see this bifurcation with the US. What that means is that although the deaths are better than they previously were, they are a lot worse than those other countries. You see that a lot more kids are dying in the US around 1980 for some unknown reason. Now, it's purely a coincidence that around that exact same time, you had the widespread administration of a certain health procedure. And since then, you've had the number of those health procedures increase drastically. And just by chance, those same health procedures have since been strongly implicated in sudden infant death syndrome in countless different studies. So there does indeed appear to be a likely culprit. But here's where it gets very interesting, because if we fast forward to lockdowns, well, during the lockdowns, routine health visits were essentially put on hold. This means that nurses couldn't go out to homes, people were stuck in their homes, and kids couldn't get shot. And just by chance, there were highly significant decreases in infant deaths throughout this exact period. It's almost as if the thing that was killing them somehow went away. I mean, all of this must just be a coincidence, right? But when we compound this with the fact that 20% of children in the US are clinically obese, and 1 in 5 adolescents have prediabetes, it's really no surprise why children in the US are dying at such a high rate. When you realize that most of the chemicals in your food, cosmetics, and that which is sprayed on your food crops are literally banned in most other countries, you begin to see why people in the US are so thoroughly sick. If you take all of this and layer it on top of these upside down dietary guidelines, then you have a recipe for disaster. The worst thing about this is that we as a society have let down the children. It was our responsibility to protect them, and we've collectively failed to do that. Instead, we handed over their health to the vultures who ultimately profit from their sickness. Now, at this point, you have to understand that the entire public health system has been captured by industry and is corrupt to its core. And if you continue to take health advice from these same authorities, then there is really no hope for you. I mean, at this point, guys, you really have no option. You cannot continue to place your faith in the health authorities. They are not looking out for you. They do not care about you. You have to take your health into your own hands.